Hello, and welcome to the Future Forward webinar series, sponsored by Ashoka and the MasterCard Foundation. We're glad to have you joining us today via live stream. Thanks for your patience as we got everyone connected from Africa. We're also following via a live Twitter chat. That is at hashtag AfricaYouthFwd. That's hashtag AfricaYouthFwd. I'm Tracy Raina, and I'll be the facilitator for today's panel discussion, where we have 4 Africa residents and community members sharing their stories on how job creation can be improved for Africa's young people, and how those young people can be models for new employment in their communities. Let me introduce the panelists, which you should see at the bottom of your screen. Joining us from South Africa is Judy Stewart. Judy, if you'll give us a wave. She's an Ashoka Fellow and a founder of Future Farmers. She's also a very successful commercial dairy farmer herself. With her is Noku, who's an apprentice in the Future Farmers program and has a lovely story to share with us today. Joining us from Kenya is Paige Ellenson, founder of Africa Yoga Project, who's also an Ashoka Fellow and an accomplished yoga instructor and protege of Baron Baptiste. Paige is joining us from a very remote area, so we will hear her voice, but we will see an avatar with just her name across. Also from Africa Yoga Project's new facilities, we have Bryant Mukabi, who's a yoga instructor there and has also been promoted to a mentorship coordinator for IYP. These 4 individuals have inspiring stories to tell about the community-embedded solutions that they've implemented to improve the youth employment challenge. Their innovative ideas that look at the problem through a unique lens, has led to very successful programs that are both scalable and sustainable. Each of these programs, while they're very different in the employment outcomes that they create, they're very much in sync with the idea that to make lasting change, one must start with enriching the whole person. Developing skills and mindsets such as passion, empathy, mindfulness, and mentoring are evident in both Future Farmers and in AYP, as is the training and development of job-specific skills that youth need to succeed. Judy, Noku, Paige, and Bryant are here to tell us more. Judy, let's start with you. You have been honored as an Ashoka Fellow, which is an identification that you have some significant social innovations that you've created. And we're specifically here to talk with you about the Future Farmers program. Tell us a little bit about Future Farmers.
It all started when I was showing animals at youth shows with a bunch of kids that didn't have animals, and I met young people from impoverished communities at the show who were involved in the youth show. And when they finished school, I realized that they had nowhere to go. They were all going to go home, and they had no opportunity for any further training in agriculture. But they were all children who were passionate about the animals that they were working with. And I decided that we needed to do something to help them to develop a career in agriculture. So I contacted the farmers that I knew in the industry, and they were prepared to take these young people on for training as apprentices. And once they had some really good practical training on the farms, we sent them overseas on internships. At the moment, we have some in the United States and some in Australia. But we are developing their skills and their confidence and their ability without formal training that they pay for. And the big thing is that they come from communities where there isn't money.
So share with us that one defining moment in which you knew you had to do that, something to change the status quo in farming.
Well, I think it was just realizing that these young people didn't have any opportunities and they didn't have anywhere to go. they didn't have any money, and I didn't have any money, so we had to develop a system where we could create opportunities for them, but without anyone having to pay for it.
I know you shared with me earlier that there's a big difference between the community farming and commercial farming. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Tracy, yes. In Africa, there's a huge emphasis on subsistence farming operations and small-scale farming operations within the African community. I believe that we need to be training people to take on large-scale commercial operations. So they shouldn't be thinking about milking 20 or 30 cows. They should be thinking about milking 1,000 cows or 1,500 cows. And there's no reason why they shouldn't do that. But all the focus has been on small-scale development. We know that those small-scale operations aren't economically viable. And the thing is that we've got, for example, a young intern who's been with us for a couple of years. He's doing his internship in Tasmania. And at the moment, he is managing a dairy herd of over 1,000 cows. The farmer got in touch with me and said, I'm going to go on holiday to England to visit my 90-year-old mother. I haven't seen her for years, but I've got someone that I can leave my dairy with. And he's also going to have a knee replacement operation that he's been putting off for years. And he's got someone, a young man from an impoverished community in South Africa, aged around about 23, who is capable of meeting his exacting standards in a huge commercial dairy operation. The exciting thing is that he's going to come back to South Africa with those skills, and he's going to move into a top management position and maybe later on a share milking system. So he's going to become an important part of our commercial agricultural system instead of being sidelined into a subsistence farming operation, which is where most of these people are.
You also coordinate so that they can go to other parts of the world and learn different things. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, they do their apprenticeship training on the farms, which is a practical training, and it's in the tradition of apprenticeships that go back thousands of years. It's a very effective way of studying, of learning and gaining experience. And the young people who show us the kind of integrity and attitude and work ethic that we're looking for and that's going to make them successful, those are the ones that we select for overseas internships. They go for 12 months, and we place them in many different disciplines. So if they're interested in poultry, they do poultry, or they might do pigs or dairy or crops. One of our young people is a trainee greenkeeper, and he's busy doing an internship. Following 4 years of apprenticeship in South Africa, he's doing an internship which he started at Congressional Country Club in Washington, D.C., and he's now doing the second phase of his internship in South Carolina at Sea Pines. I wrote to the management at Congressional, and I said to them, you have no idea how you've changed the life of this young man. he's on a completely different level from where he was when he went to the U.S. And they wrote back to me, and I said, Judy, Fortune, what we have learned from Fortune while he's been with us, from his humility, his work ethic, and his attitude, is far more than he would ever bring home from us. It's a tremendous story, and in fact he's been invited to do some courses at Ohio State University, and they said that if he passes them with distinction, which is 94%, he can stay in the United States for another 6 months. So it's just amazing. It's incredible what these young people do, and these are people who come from the rural communities where there is no hope, and all we do is create opportunities for them and say, try this.
Naku?
Hello?
Hi. So
Hi.
tell us a little bit about your apprenticeship. You've been in the program a little less than a year, and you'll be finishing in 3 years, right?
Yes.
Tell us what you're doing.
Well, I was studying at the College of Agriculture towards my diploma in agricultural management, and now I am currently working in a poultry breeder farm. Also, we also breed for beef. So on a daily basis, I'm involved with the daily running of the farm, from everything. I had to start at the beginning. I call it my humbling beginning, as I have to learn and also interact with each individual in the farm. This is how I get to learn how the farm is actually run, from everything that they have to do. And this way, I don't just get to, at the end of the day, pass orders, but I am the one that is being taught everything from scratch. Well, that is an interesting story. I was told about Judy from my crop lecturer while I was still doing my studies in agriculture. He gave me her contact details, and first I actually looked up future farmers on the web, and I read about them, and then I contacted her myself. I gave her a call, and we met. And well, as they say, the rest is history.
I think there's also a little bit of a story that Judy told me about your passion and also some of the difficulties that you had in the beginning, knowing you wanted to be a farmer, but not knowing how to make that happen. Do you want to share a little bit of that with us?
Well, as a young woman in South Africa, a developing country, it might seem like a dream when you tell someone that you want to be a farmer. I went into the College of Agriculture to study farming because I wanted to be a farmer. But as you actually learn about the industry, you realize that it is not as easy or an achievable goal as you thought it was coming from high school. But with future farmers, you realize the opportunity to actually get closer to the industry, opportunity to actually interact more with other young people who have got the exact same passion that you have to farm, who also have got the same desire. But it's the one thing that we all have in common is the fact that we don't have rich parents that will just buy you a farm and will give you everything on your lap, and then you just have to run with it. So with this opportunity, you work for it yourself, which is much, much better than it being handed over to you. Future Farmers has also given me an opportunity to actually meet a very successful farmer who's now become my mentor. From college, I wouldn't have I don't even know where I would have met Mr. Long. But with Future Farmers, Judy has now become the bridge between myself and the farmer. We're given an opportunity to actually meet these successful farmers who actually help us every day, step by step, for these 3 years. And we're learning. And that is just a great thing, that we're learning as we work. We're learning every day as we work. We wouldn't have gotten this chance without future farmers. We're exposed to a world that I'm exposed to a world that I didn't even know existed. I'm now living in a farming community. I'm learning how they socially, how people work, how they feel, how they interact with each other, and that has been great for me, because I actually write down every day what I've learned, and that just, as I reflect back what I've learned and what I need to actually improve on, it teaches myself as a young person that, you know, there's more to life. I'm also being there. I actually get a chance to share with the other young people that have grown up in this community that, you know what, there's more to life than what you see just being surrounded by green mountains. There's more to life that you can, if you have a passion and a desire for something, you can actually work very hard towards it, and you can reach it. And it's attainable, but it's all up to you. And this lovely lady sitting next to me has actually encouraged me, and she motivates me, but mostly she's given me an opportunity to prove to myself and not anyone else, as she always says, that I will not be letting anyone down if I need this opportunity to go, but myself. As I said, I want to farm. I want to farm. I want to farm. I want a farm of my own. I want to create employment. My dream is to become one of South Africa's successful female farmers. I want to create more of those. I just want to farm, and I want to become the best at it. Not just an average farmer, but the best female farmer in this country.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, both of you, the true impact right there in the communities and how that impact can grow across communities, not just in one place, but can continue to expand and sustain through many communities that may not have had that opportunity for commercial farming before. So, Paige and Bryant, we want to chat with you for a few minutes. Let me double check that we still have Paige on the line. Paige, are you with us?
I'm here.
Excellent, excellent. So Paige is also an Ashoka Fellow, and again was selected because of specific social innovations that she had created and around the wellness and mindfulness of yoga. She created Africa Youth Yoga Project. Tell us a little bit, and briefly, Paige, what AYP does.
Sure. So thank you so much, Tracy, for having us. Africa Yoga Project educates, empowers, really elevates and employs youth from Africa using the tool of yoga. Our vision is to create opportunities for youth to experience their own greatness, become self-sustaining, and be leaders in their communities. We are opening up and cultivating the wellness market in Africa. In America alone, the yoga market is a $27 billion business, and it's like that in most developed countries. In Africa, there's a real potential to not only open up the market for yoga, but fill it with local talent. And in the process of filling it with local talent, really being able to create leaders that give back to their own communities. So right now, we have 78 teachers that work with us full-time. They earn a middle-class income, both from Africa Yoga Project and teaching out there in the world. At the same time, they give back to their communities. They teach over 300 free classes a week in orphanages and prisons, and really at the people at the most vulnerable level. So we consider this a social enterprise because we're really, borrowing from a very contagious movement around yoga and using it to give back and create jobs.
You had an amazing story to share with when we talked about that one defining moment, which you knew you had to do something to change the status quo. Want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so I was in Kenya and I was volunteering at an orphanage, and I was teaching for free, and at the same time someone had heard that I taught yoga in Nairobi, and at the United Nations they invited me to teach a workshop. At the United Nations I was being paid the same kind of salary I would make in New York, and volunteering I was teaching people that made under $1 a day. And I realized I had a defining moment of really realizing that this was the gap that I wanted to fill. I didn't want to be working for free for the people that can't afford a service and working for extraordinary amounts of money for people that can. I'd rather fill the gap by training youth that are unemployed, that are in the prison of making $1 a day, and train them to take those jobs that patriot have the opportunity for training. So that's really where the idea behind Africa Yoga Project was born, in filling that gap. Yeah.
Hi. Did you hear me, Paige?
Yeah, I can't.
Okay. Okay, so just if you can do a quick intro of Bryant and tell us what makes him stand out in your program.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to have Bryant on the phone. Bryant has been a teacher with us. Well, it started as a student of one of our teachers, and I found it remarkable how he was so inspired by the mentorship and the role model that one of his teachers, Walter, gave him, that he came to me and said, I want to teach as well. I want to give this gift back to others like me. And since then, Bryant's not only become an incredible yoga teacher, but has really spearheaded a mentorship program of taking teachers from the West and pairing them up with new teachers in Africa. And these teachers work on like a school sponsorship model. So there's a financial exchange as well as a mentorship exchange, the financial exchange going from the West to Africa. And he's just been a real pioneer in everything that he does and moved from a life of crime into a life of contribution. He's definitely the type of guy, 3 years ago I saw him on the street. I'd want to maybe walk on the other side of the street and be a little afraid. And now he's the type of guy I'd want to, just get closer and ask him what he's up to.
I felt the same way after talking to him. Bryant, how did you find Paige and AYP?
My name is Bryant, and I'm Africa Yoga Project Mentorship Program Coordinator. So I met Paige in 2007, especially after the post-election violence. We used to practice yoga at the Arboretum, and there's a lady called Paige, and she's offering free Saturday classes at the Sarakasi Trust. Sarakasi Trust was an art center where everybody in Nairobi used to go there and practice either acrobats, traditional dance. So Paige went there and started teaching Saturday classes, free Saturday classes. So that's when I was interested in power yoga, because I remember the very first class I went was very inspiring to me, because I was challenged a lot in my life. I didn't have a job, so I used to engage myself in crime, like gambling. I used to gamble a lot. When I don't have money to gamble, I end up pickpocketing people in order to pay for my house, in order for me to eat. So I was still practicing Kundalini yoga, but it was not speaking to my inner self, like my true authenticity. So when I went to Paige class one Saturday, she taught the yoga class with a theme of non-violence. And Kenya at that time had experienced post-election violence. And it started speaking to me in a compassion. Like I started seeing what I do to people in my in the other way, if it is me, people doing this to me. So the moment I started practicing the Saturday classes with Paige, the more I started realizing my inner self and the bad things I was doing to people. And so I had to stop the habit. And the very main thing I always remember in Baptist yoga, she used to tell us, like, anything you practice on your mat as a yoga student, you have to embody it outside your mat. Like, if on my mat I am non-violent and I'm smiling, also when I go back to my community, I should do that. Yeah, so that's how I met Paige.
With us also how you are able to go back into your community and teach yoga and mindfulness to others.
Okay, so we continued practicing yoga with Paige every Saturday, 2007, 2008. Then in 2009, she invited her teacher. He's called Baron Baptiste, and in April 2009, he gave us a level 1 teacher training. So we were taught how to teach yoga. All the skills of teaching yoga we were given by Baron. And when the teacher training ended, we signed a commitment of teaching 5 outreach classes in your community, free classes where you come from. So for me, I was coming in a slum called Kangemi. So I went back to my community. I started speaking to the youth, to schools. I went to introduce myself, telling them the importance of yoga. It is a healthy practice. It improves your breathing, your physical posture. It also improves your well-being in classes, in football matches. So I started teaching free classes in my community, and students started liking it. And Paige also told us if our students want to come to the Saturday class, because the Saturday community class was still on. It was free, and it started growing and growing, and we had like 200 people coming. Even our space was at a time very small, and we had even people were practicing even outside the door, like it was very full. So I started teaching in my community. Then in AIP, we started growing and we needed more teachers. So we started the assistance program, whereby for me, I was a yoga teacher in my community. I went to my class and I gave them an announcement like Africa Yoga Project needs new teachers, because in level 1 we went 45 teachers, and the awareness of yoga had grown so much that we needed a lot of teachers to preach out the peace, because the most important thing of yoga was union and peace, and Kenya was going through violence. So people were so happy with the healing which yoga was bringing, and it is coming from their inner self. So I started teaching my community. I introduced yoga to them. Then I told them we need yoga assistants or teachers. If you are interested in being a teacher, Africa Yoga Project has a new assistance program, which is a 1-year-long program where we teach youth how to teach yoga to the community, like the way Baron was teaching us in the community. So we started embodying what Baron wanted, to create more teachers. So I ended up having like three of my best friends in my community. One is called Samson. He's a very old guy, and he's inspired me so much, because yoga taught me. I was not respecting my elders, because for me right now I'm 28 years and he's 60. So I respect him so much as my dad, like he's the age of my dad. And the willingness which he had to learn yoga really made me so happy. And he wanted to know, how do I teach my class? How does the flow go? And so within that year, he became a very powerful teacher. And right now he's an empowerment coach. He visits all the outreach in Nairobi and sees how they are going. He empowers the classes with maths. Yeah, so that's what happens.
That there was a young person that you impacted in the community, a football player, Tell us that story.
Okay, yeah. So it continued like that. So Africa Yoga Project developed an assistant program. Every year we have new assistants coming in January and learning a one-year program how to teach yoga. So they come in every Wednesday. So last year I went to my community again. I used to play football, and I was teaching a football team in my community. So I introduced to them again that AYP, we have an assistant program. Is there anyone interested in being a teacher or an assistant? And that's when one of my best friends again, like he just finished his high school and he was 18 years old. After the class, he came and told me, "Hi, Bryant, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a yoga teacher." And I told him, so the process is going to the Shine Center studio, picking an application form, then you fill in the requirements, how long have you practiced yoga, what has yoga made you, like, so there's an application of being in the assistance program. And he was very authentic. He had practiced for 2 years, and he was picked for the assistance program, that is 2013 assistance program. And right now, he's almost graduated. He started in January, and their graduation is almost happening in 1 week. They are going to teach the Saturday class, and they are going to be given feedback by most of our teachers on how they taught them. We are going to introduce them now as Africa Yoga Project teachers, and I'm very happy for him because the footballers where he comes from, they really see change in him, like he's speaking more things, like knowing himself and creating a path of happiness and peace to the community.
I want you to tell a little bit about your growth in AYP as well. You started off as an acrobat and a pickpocket, and then you decided that you wanted to find meaning in your life and became a young yoga instructor, as well as focused on your inner self. But that you didn't stop there. So tell us what was your next step and then what you're doing now.
Okay, so after realizing myself like what I meant to do in this community, I decided to follow AYP like with all my heart. Like I decided to drop what I know, anything which had happened in the past, I decided to drop it, and I became a professional yoga teacher, and I increased my yoga outreach classes in my community, and AYP was very happy with that. And in 2010, I was employed as a mentorship coordinator for Africa Yoga Project, which I was very happy, and I wanted to create the connection with the mentors all over the world, with our teachers, because they needed skills of teaching yoga, because in outreach we had a lot of challenges, like questions being asked by students, which for me as a yoga teacher I was not able to answer. So when the teachers have mentors, it is very easy for them to relate stories, like to inspire each other with the challenges which we inquire in our classes. So I decided to be a very authentic and truthful person in my life, because my students wanted to see that, because I was teaching them to be of peace, be of happiness. So I needed to start that as a teacher before telling them. So I taught them my experience from being a pickpocket and being a yoga teacher, and again being a mentorship coordinator. So the mentorship coordinator is very huge in Africa Yoga Project. Every yoga teacher project goes a certification process. Each month you have to write an essay why you taught, why you decided to teach Baptist yoga, what being of service means to you. We record videos of teachers teaching yoga here at our studio, Shine Center, and they give themselves feedback together with your mentor. And it is a 1-year process, and at the end of the year, you become an Africa Yoga Project certified yoga teacher. Yeah, so that's what it looks like.
That's wonderful. What's your dream? What's your next step with AYP?
Okay, so my next step is, so we usually have Saver Safari programs and ambassadorship programs where visitors from outside the world come into AYP to empower us in programs. They give us workshops. So my next goal is I'm planning on creating a documentary of Africa Yoga Project on how we attend to our Saver Safari programs. Like we shoot videos of how we collect you in the airport, how we take you to our outreach programs, our Kenyan food, our community where you will be sleeping. Like we give you a highlight of how safe it is here in Nairobi, and like the overall people, the way they say Africa is dangerous. But now I want to create a documentary whereby the world can see how coming to Africa Yoga Project is an inspiring, a very safe place. Like you can even call it home the first time you come here, because teachers welcome you with a very warm heart. We listen for, like we need your knowledge and skills. So whenever you teachers from US or any part of the world, they come to Kenya to give us workshops, we really get very happy because we grow as yoga professionals. So that's my next big dream for Africa Yoga Project.
Thank you so much for sharing. It was a beautiful story, and it looks like it continues to be an amazing story. I'm looking at our time, and I know we started a few minutes late, but we're at 10:49 now. I do want to remind everyone that we are still running a live Twitter chat at #AfricaYouthFwd, and we will continue that after we sign off here on the video and panelist portion. I want to thank all of our panelists this evening for them and this morning for us in the United States. We appreciate all the work that they did ahead of time to work with connections, which can sometimes be challenging. I think they're all video experts at this point. And we want to encourage our audience to learn more about what's going on with both of these projects, and also to stay tuned for additional Twitter chats and webinars we'll have in the Future Forward series, where we'll introduce others in the community and different communities with different opportunities that are being created for youth employment in Africa. Thanks, everyone. We'll sign off now.